Harley Quinn Season 3 was back again this week on HBO Max for its big, thrilling finale, The Horse and the Sparrow. I'm Cave Joel, and by now you should probably know this is the video series where I give my thoughts and feelings on the episode that was, while also shouting out any comic book Easter eggs or references I can find. So with that all done, let's get to it, shall we? So then, this episode picks up seconds after the last one ended, complete with Poison Ivy finally finishing her massive F-bomb to hilarious results. And I mean, it's understandable why she's upset. Ivy was so very close to completing her plans for a perfect world, a new Eden, only to have those dreams dashed right at the finish line. And while she's certainly disappointed in Harley, she's not so mad that it's like they're going to break up or anything. Again, if you haven't been reading the interviews, the writers and showrunners basically said they never planned to break these two up, considering all the work that went into getting them together. Man, you know, in that regard, the Harley show really is different than your normal comic book storylines, because they'd happily break any happy couple up for any reason, and sometimes no reason at all. And honestly, there's something kind of refreshing about all of that. Harley and Ivy have a healthy relationship, and even in healthy relationships, you'll fight, you'll hit bumps in the metaphorical road, and when you're two colorful supervillains, those bumps are pretty damn huge and dramatic sometimes. And on that particular topic, the question is once again raised this episode, and that is Harley Quinn even technically a supervillain anymore? I mean, she was willing to sacrifice herself to save Ivy and the rest of Gotham, and dang nabbit, that sure does sound like a superhero. The public is on Harley's side like never before now, and even Batgirl is pretty pleased with herself, as she was the one who saw the good in Harley first before anyone else in the superhero community ever did. Another cool thing this episode does is show off that even though Ivy failed to create her Eden, she still seems to be keeping the brand new costume and enhanced power set from going into the green. Don't worry though, she still has her wonderfully dry and acerbic personality and sense of humor that's made us all fall in love with the character. In fact, speaking of power, word of what Ivy did at the Jazz Festival has reached the ears of Lex Luthor, who in a wonderful callback to Season 1 thinks it's time to try and recruit Ivy, only he doesn't want her to just be a member of the Legion of Doom, he wants her to lead a new incarnation of the team in Gotham. Again, I feel like old Ivy from the beginning of the season would have turned this offer down right away, but newly confident, self-actualized, super-powered Ivy begins to wonder if maybe she could accomplish some amazing things with this sort of backing behind her. So essentially what we have here for the big finale is Harley and Ivy both at very different crossroads in their lives, both ready to start the next chapter but unsure how exactly to go about it. When Ivy tells Harley that all she needs to do in order to get her own Legion of Doom is kill Mayor Joker at the big movie premiere later that night, Harley agrees to do whatever it takes to make her happy and make amends for the whole failed Eden project. Even though it's made abundantly clear that Harley very much doesn't want to hurt people anymore, even people like the Joker, who probably more than a little bit deserve it. This story also ends up crossing over finally with the Clayface plot that's been building all season long, with him pretending to be Billy Bob Thornton in the new Thomas Wayne biopic. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like everyone in the crew this season got some real moments of character growth and emotional meat to chew on, while Clayface just kinda entered the season and left it almost exactly the same. That's fine, not everyone needs an arc. This is a comedy show, and it's a miracle that so many characters are as three-dimensional as they are. It's just, you know, Clayface really sticks out like a sore thumb now next to everyone else. Bruce, feeling as though he's actually made some personal progress, surprises everyone when he decides to attend the movie. And oh hey, Selina is here too, not to reconcile her romance with Bruce, but to support him during such a traumatic and trying time, which honestly I think is very sweet in and of itself. Batman and Catwoman might not be a couple anymore, but they care about each other deeply, and showing up as friends definitely reminds us that there are plenty of different sorts of equally valid love out there. And also, I'm pretty sure Selina only showed up just to steal Bruce's dead mom's very famous pearls, which is darkly hilarious in and of itself. The big finale of the episode sees Harley, Ivy, and the Joker all together in the same room, fitting as they are probably the three most important characters in the entire show, and they haven't all been together for a while. This meeting, after a fact, allows Joker and Ivy the chance to commiserate over their shared relationship with Harley. They also make it very clear just how far both of these characters have come since the series began. Ivy and Joker have both found themselves essentially reborn. Oh sure, Joker is still maniacal, he's just pointing all that supervillain energy somewhere else. Hell, even Harley herself finds herself agreeing with the Joker's political platform, and the idea that Harley would ever be okay with anything that came from the Joker, I think speaks volumes about them both. In fact, in the end, it's actually the Joker who ends up dropping a very unexpected but very necessary truth bomb on Ivy, and that is by saying that, believe it or not, their relationships with Harley are not that different. If only because Harley still so desperately fears rejection from her romantic partner, she completely pushes down her own wants and needs for the benefit of the other person involved. At first, Ivy, of course, denies all of this, saying she's nothing like Joker, but the longer she thinks about it, the more she comes to realize that, yeah, Harley has basically been going along with everything she's wanted since the season began. What's great about this, too, is once again, it doesn't lead to some big fight or falling out. It leads to Ivy coming to a big realization that she loves Harley so deeply that she would never want to see her stop growing or evolving as a person. Lord knows she's grown and evolved as a person to the point where she's basically a plant god now. And if that means that Harley doesn't want to hurt people anymore, and if that means she wants to be a hero, well, then their love is just gonna have to be strong enough to make all of this work. I also love, from a comedy standpoint, how Ivy basically ends up completely sidestepping asking herself the oh-so-important question, and that is, why, if Harley is not okay with hurting people anymore, why are you, Ivy, still okay with it? Now, while the episode probably could have ended right there, we actually get served up several more game-changing twists. The movie ends up going over great with the crowd, but Clayface, even after revealing himself as the true star of the piece, ends up getting no actual regard. I only bring this up because blink and you'll miss it, but there's actually some really awesome Doom Patrol cameos within the credits of the Thomas Wayne movie. The best reveal for my money, though, is that the Joker actually came to the premiere that night with his own set of plans, and that is to arrest Bruce Wayne for tax evasion. And I mean, yeah, let's face it, for him to be Batman, Bruce would also have to be a massive tax cheat, lest the IRS know about his secret double life. There's just something so amazing to me about the idea that the Joker finally beats Batman, and he does so by using the law against him. Not just any law, either tax law, the way they brought down some of the biggest, most famous criminals the world has ever known, like Al Capone and shit. I also can't help but shake the feeling that this storyline is heavily referencing Batman White Knight, a comic that also ended with Bruce going to jail. Though, in a surprising turn of events, Bruce actually doesn't feel bad about this whole thing at all. In fact, he thanks Harley for the part she played in giving him some very overdue therapy. Bruce is actually happy now, in a much better mental place, and he thinks that him going to jail will actually send a very important message to the people of Gotham, and that is that no one is above justice, not even him. And hey, don't worry about the future of the Bat family either. As Bruce puts it, Barbara has basically been acting as the leader all season long when he was depressed and creating zombies. Again, what a fun arc and direction for Barbara. I'd argue this series consistently gives her better stuff to do than the actual comics do. And the Bat family won't have to do any of this alone either, as they have a brand new member in the form of Harley Quinn. Of course, she's new to the whole hero thing, and she's probably gonna make some mistakes along the way. And so that was The Horse and the Sparrow, and it sure was a different sort of finale than we're used to for Harley Quinn. Understated, where the two previous ones, ended with a lot bigger bangs. This one had several smaller bangs, as well as the promise that Season 4 is gonna have a very different status quo for everyone. What will Harley look like as a hero, I wonder? Who will be on Poison Ivy's new version of the Legion of Doom, especially considering that so many AAA Batman villains are dead in this show? Will Bruce be able to survive prison? What's Gordon gonna feel about all of this? Didn't he have a bunch of blackmail pictures that he got from the Court of Owls meeting? Why did that never come back? And of course, the most obvious, what's gonna happen when Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn are forced to meet each other on opposite sides of the law in the superhero-supervillain dynamic? If I had to sum up Season 3 of the Harley Quinn show in one word, that word would be transformative. A lot of the characters transformed. In fact, they're very different versions of themselves that even exist in the comics at the moment. It's just one of the many ways in which the Harley show actually gives itself its own unique flavor and place in the greater DC multiverse. It is truly its own thing. In fact, the only thing that I think stylistically even comes close is like later Venture Brothers, how it started off as a Johnny Quest parody, but over time it started building its own unique mythology and lore. I would say that's kind of where the Harley show is at right now. Beyond that, the jokes were good. Most of the cast ended up completing their season-long story arcs. Not much more I can ask for than that. And so it looks like that'll just about do it for me for another season, everyone. I hope you enjoyed these videos. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and favorite so you always know when I have something similar coming down the pipeline for you. And while we begin the long wait for a Harley Season 4, if you can't get enough about me talking about shows, be sure to check out my Cape Joel TikTok page. I talk about all sorts of stuff over there. She-Hulk, Little Demon, you name it. So until we meet again, everyone, thank you again, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.